Hello everyone, Javier here with The Real Javier Novoa, a channel, a platform, and a modality where we apply the principles of interiorism to living free. And today I just wanted to make this short video because I received a comment that could sort of be seen as a question from the video that we did months ago or one of the videos. I think this is a video actually that we did over a year ago. But it turns out that some of the most popular videos on our channel have been the videos that we released both, I believe, a year ago and about 4 months ago on robotic affirming, robotic affirmations. And it's still the case that on YouTube and Reddit and other social media platforms, robotic affirming is a very popular topic. And I think it's very popular because it really allows you to start with zero. And I want to take a moment just to explain what I mean. Trevor G. Blake wrote about this in his book, 4 Simple Steps, and he explained it very beautifully. He said that, remember, everything starts from nothing. Of course, all spiritual teachings teach this. Everything starts from zero. And you don't have to start from zero. You can start at any point in the process. See, the creative process is multifaceted. It begins with nothing, the void, and then something comes in to fill that vacuum, and then it grows piece by piece. The Bible talks about it. First the seed, then the ear of corn, and so on and so forth, then the full flourishing of that corn. But when you have less belief, and when you're facing something that's gargantuan, and when you're facing something that you have no idea how to accomplish, then it's best that you start from zero. And a great way to start from zero is robotic affirming, because I'll refer you back to our videos, and I will put links to them in the description. But robotic affirming is a process in which you just affirm robotically. You don't pay attention to your feelings. So you don't pay attention to whether or not you believe that this can happen. Because what gets a lot of people twisted up in the law of attraction community especially is trying to believe it, then feeling guilty that you don't believe it, and then not persisting in the thing because you don't believe it. While it's true that when you start with law of attraction, like most people listen to Abraham Hicks. Abraham Hicks is very big on feeling it and believing it, guys, and feeling high on the emotional scale before it can happen. And that's true, but that believing it comes about in the process. There are earlier steps in the process that come before belief. You will believe it when you see it. And of course, Abraham Hicks talks about the fact you have to believe it to see it. And this world will tell you have to see it to believe it. But there's something even further than belief. And that's what we can call will. It's what the great philosophers like Schopenhauer and others called will. And will trumps belief because will comes before belief. You first have the desire, and that has to happen before you believe it can happen. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you can't believe it, that's okay. Because if you start earlier on in the process, if you start from nothing, if you start from neutrality, then that belief will come, and then whatever it is that you're wanting will come. Abraham Hicks even talks about this a lot, but it's hard to find it in her work, especially if you're coming at it from a purely law of attraction modality. That's why I call our teaching interiorism, because what it says is whatever happens on the inner will be reflected on the outer, whether you believe it or not. In fact, in our system, belief is not even a component. And we're going to show you this just a little bit. So, what robotic affirming does is it says don't worry about your reactions to the affirmation. Of course, your reactions to the first few affirmations are going to be negative. But it's going to be compounded if you think in your mind, I have to believe it, Now, instead of simply focusing on the affirmation, which all the affirmation is, guys, is getting to the end of what you want and then presenting that end to your imaginal faculties as if it were in front of you. You're not just worried about getting that right, you're now worried about believing it. So think about this. As I'm affirming, let's say I want $1 million. I have $1 million. Well, if I'm simply robotic affirming, then my mind will simply fill in the blanks of that. I now have $1 million. I now have $1 million. I now have $1 million. And you can even chant it, as we've talked about in other tapes, in other videos. It's very effective. I now have $1 million. I now have $1 million. And then you're going to start seeing images, you can't help it, of what it would be like if you'd had those $1 million. But now imagine that you're trying to say, well, I have to believe it. And in fact, if I feel any negative emotion while doing this affirmation, it's actually pushing it further away from me in time. So now you're really worried about, not only are you saying, I now have $1 million, but you're really worried about, okay, do I really believe this? And you're questioning yourself, do I believe it? And guys, it screws it up more than good. That's why in robotic affirming, you take that away. You even say, even if I feel negative emotion, even if I feel disbelief, I'm simply going to keep focusing on the affirmation. What happens, guys, is that your focus is locked in, and within a few minutes, any of your negative beliefs are wiped away, and then that law of attraction of positive momentum of what Abraham Hicks talks about, I believe it's 16 seconds, can and will come into effect. That's robotic affirming in a nutshell. So I got a comment on the robotic affirming video, and you'll see why, but I started this channel simply with the purpose I wanted to help people, guys. In fact, I did choose the motto living free later. It came to me because what my mission is in life, my personal mission, and the mission of this business, this channel, it is to help people live free, guys. It's to help people have all of their needs met, discover this power of manifestation, and by the best approach I believe there is to it to date, which is interiorism, so that they can then be free of fear, free of having to do anything, so that then they can go out, and here's the clincher, guys, here's the essence, so that they can go out and achieve what they came to achieve. I believe we all came with a specific purpose. Now, this isn't purpose like religion teaches us. It's not like some karmic board came and sent us and said, you need to fulfill this, and if you don't, you'll be judged. But in a certain sense, and it's not going to be explainable by logical talking because it's spiritual, but in a certain sense, we did come in with desires to do certain things, and we came here. And of course, you'll have other chances to do it if you don't do it. But why not, guys, do what you came to do? The only way you're going to do what you came to do, and this is why I've discovered through contemplation, through making a lot of these videos. I haven't read this, guys. I haven't heard this from anyone else. I discovered this through meditation and through contemplation. There's one thing. Without it, you're not going to be able to fulfill your full potential. You'll do some things, but you're going to feel empty. There's one thing required, and that's feeling safe. All of this interiorism, all of these words, and we're not trying to say, oh, this is all true and so on and so forth, logically and existentially. I may have the theory wrong. But as we say, it's a working hypothesis. So the question that we got here is this. He says, I find that he or she, the commenter on this video, robotic affirming that we did over a year ago, I find that robotic affirming is the best way to avoid resistance. On the other hand, trying to live in the end causes me a huge amount of resistance because of the very stressful situation I'm in, which is having been severely depressed and traumatized for many years after being a carer, I believe he means a caregiver, he or she, for my sick mom, and now facing homelessness. So, and we don't want to sound insensitive here, but these are the situations that excite me, because it's what the channel's about. Because you see, as Abraham Hicks teaches us about contrast, the more you know what you don't want, the greater the gap that's being created between what you want and where you are. That gap being what you don't want, the clearer what you want is. And the bigger and more exciting that result is that's waiting for you in the vortex. The questioner talks about the fact that trying to live in the end stresses him or her out, stresses them out. Remember, the first thing about this is that the listener says that robotic affirming is a great process for them. And I'm very happy that that's the fact, because the way that I share it on this channel, I believe, is the way that's most conducive to interiorism. It's most conducive to the way this process of manifestation works. But I'll say at the outset, I don't want you to get attached to a process. Do the processes or don't do processes. Remember, Neville Goddard said something to this effect: get your inner talking right, and then you can lay aside all other processes, because that in itself will put everything into motion for you. I want to tell you one thing, and I'm talking to the questioner here, and I'm also talking to anyone else who may be in a very difficult situation, may be looking for processes and experimenting with processes. Think about this, because a lot of people say this. There are a lot of videos about it on YouTube. You are the process. I am the process. Another way to think about this is, I am is the process. What does that mean? It means that never again from this day or this moment forward do you have to worry about doing a process or about setting a process in motion. You are the process. So instead of doing the process, be the process. And I really, really hope you understand me. That's why I'm taking this time to say it slowly, so that you can think about it, you can contemplate it. Just contemplate this. You are the process. Now contemplate what we talked about earlier, what Trevor Blake talked about in his book, 3 Simple Steps. Everything starts from nothing. What does that mean? It means no action is required. And I'm going to show you this. In this video, I'm going to show you the way to everything that you want. It's really the way of no way, but we're going to get your situation solved. I want to solve this situation right now. It's what this channel is about. It's what I do. It's what I want to do. So let's continue reading this comment here and see what we can find out. They say, I'm facing homelessness. And this is very interesting, by the way. And another thing I wanted to weave into this. You see, this person is sort of at rock bottom. And there's a reason why the recovery community, like 12 steps, and I believe the alcoholism, we're not comparing your situation to that at all, but it's great to read their works and the insights that they get. They say that you have to hit rock bottom before you can start to make a change. So life gives us this great favor. The favor is, it allows us to hit rock bottom where there's nowhere else to go, and all of your planning, see, we think we plan, we think we're the steerer of the ship, we think we're the captain of the ship, but all of your planning has led to this: rock bottom, planning or lack of planning. And that's the ideal situation to do what you came to do, the main aspect that you came to do, which is to get your ego out of the way, which is to surrender. You see, you have no choice but to completely surrender. You're facing the abyss. Homelessness, in this worldly depiction, is the abyss. You have no way out. So what does Abraham Hicks say? Abraham Hicks says, it's perfect when you're facing a humongous mammoth problem, because then you realize that there's nothing you can do about it, and you have to surrender, completely surrender, absolute surrender. And I would also recommend that you read the book by Michael Singer, The Surrender Experiment. He did an experiment where he simply surrendered to everything. Well, you have to surrender. So surrender, and we're going to show you how to do that step by step here. But he or she goes on. I also listen to subliminal recordings too, as they don't rely on imagining the feeling. I've tried using my imagination for years, but it doesn't work for me. Of course, if you tell that story, that's the way it is. We're going to give you a way out of that. The only way out of it, which is interiorism. But when you're in a terrible situation, just trying to get these words into your subconscious through repetition can be the most effective method. Yes, we agree, which is why we made these videos. But we want to teach you to go deeper now. If you're comfortable and fairly happy, then using imagination will probably work well for you, but that's not my situation, and I'm glad. I know it sounds insensitive. I'm glad it's not your situation, because you are going to have light years of growth in the next few days and weeks by practicing what we're about to show you. And again, I'm not directly responding to subliminals or robotic affirmations, which are great processes. I love them. I do them. Of course, everything has its time and season. But my friend, I want to help you. And of course, anyone can ask me, and I always do this. I will imagine well for you, and I'm going to do that as well. But I don't want you to depend on me. Because you see, when I get into the state for someone, it always happens. And I have tons of stories from my friends. They wanted something, I went into the state, and that happened. But I don't want you to have to ask someone or depend on someone, because you, right now, have the power to do it, to get yourself out of it, to get yourself into the situation that you want. But the first thing that you have to do is you have to get into the I am. So what I want you to do right now, first of all, surrender completely to your situation. You may be on the verge of homelessness. Say, okay, I'm surrounded by that now. I'm on the verge of homelessness. My mother's sick. Nothing looks good in my world. I'm at rock bottom. How does that feel? Now, what many teachers and gurus tell you to do is to try to imagine positively, positive thinking. We don't go along with that positive thinking on our channel because it's a lie. You are where you are. You have to start with where you are right this second. And it's the way out, as a friend of mine said. The way out is through the floor. The way out is in. The self-help authors years ago were right when they said the way out is through. How do you do that? Well, how are you feeling right now? You're probably feeling anxiety. You may be feeling sadness. You may be feeling despair. Stay with that for just a moment. Go deeply into it. Do it now. I don't care what you're doing. There's nothing more important than this. Drop whatever you're doing. Also, anyone who's watching who it may be suffering from any of this, do it. Feel your body, first of all, any feelings of your body. You may be feeling tightness in the neck. You may be feeling tightness in the chest. This is a gift, guys. Krishnamurti called this a great jewel. Someone has handed you a great jewel. Don't escape it. Go into it. Do you feel whatever feeling it is of worry, tightness? Could be tightness in the chest, tightness in the neck. That's usually where it manifests. Now we're going to go even deeper to the nothing. You can close your eyes because it helps with the distractions, or you can keep your eyes open. It doesn't really matter. Now ask yourself, who is it that's feeling this anxiety? You can also ask yourself, what is the space within which this feeling, this anxiety, this fear, this frustration arises? What is that field in which it arises? You're not answering these questions intellectually, by the way. Don't think about it. Oh, what is it? Maybe it's the human body or physics or no. You're feeling for it. The Bible says feel after him. You're feeling after him right now. Feel after it. Now I want you to really get familiar with this space. And of course there's no really space because there are no two things. We know that from interiorism. But we're not using the intellect right now. This space-like field, I want you to get really familiar with it. It's worth the time. I promise you it's worth the 5-10 minutes that you're going to spend doing this. Because this is how we split the atom, guys, metaphorically. This is going to have the most power of anything that you've ever done in your entire life. And you can write in the comments what's happened due to this. But now ask yourself, this space, is there any limitation to it? Like, okay, this feeling is occurring within this space. But is there any limitation to it, or is this space everywhere? Try to feel a limitation to it. Just feel that space-like presence. And try to see if you can put any limitation on it. In fact, try to see if you can find any attribute of it whatsoever. Move as far out as you want. Go to the end of the universe. You can do it right now in your perception, in your focus. And by the way, just a little secret, your anxiety right now has probably gone way down. If you're truly focusing on this, there's probably hardly any more anxiety in your body. You can't find any frontier or border to this space-like quality. If there's no limiting factor to it, then everything is it because nothing is outside of it. Therefore, it is you and you are it. Feel that. So you are the space. I am the space. So whatever this suffering is, you could go back to your body now. Or whatever beautiful feeling, because you're probably feeling intoxicated right now. Ask yourself, this is happening within me, but what am I? Feel it. You'll feel that there's no feeling in the I am. The space itself has the quality of being absolutely impervious, above and beyond, separate from any quality that you can imagine. So it's free, it's bliss, it's intoxication, it has no space, it has no time. Feel it. You'll feel it. There's no time in it. There's no space in it. There's no quality in it. So what does that mean of your situation now that you were talking about, that you're about to be homeless? Is that outside of it? No. What does that mean? That situation itself is made of nothing other than that space-like consciousness that we've just discovered together. I am and you are. Therefore, that situation is happiness, is bliss, is completion, is space. I want you to see it. That means within your situation, in the midst of it, above it, around it, inside it, on it, is complete bliss. And we've just discovered also there's no physicality. This, it's not physical. Science has discovered this. We know from physics that nothing touches. You know it now experientially. You are that space. Therefore, you are on the highest of highest levels of Plato's schema in Timaeus, of the actual spiritual cosmos. Therefore, there is no inner or outer. Therefore, it's all a play. And now tell me the difference between that which you create in your imagination now and that which you perceive to be when you return to this timeline. There is no difference. So now you create. Because you are it. There's no difference. But now when you do your imaginal act or your affirmation or whatever it is that you do, it doesn't really matter. Neville Goddard called it the coin of heaven. You have your thoughts. You have your speech. You have your imaginings. This is all the coin of heaven. You're not doing it to affect some situation tomorrow on the outer, because there is no outer. There's no space, there's no time. You've just discovered that. Now I want you to imagine the end of what you want right now. But you're not trying to make it happen. You're not even thinking about your past problem. You're dead to that. And when you go on the outer again, and as Joel Goldsmith talked about, when you're tempted by poverty, when you're tempted by sickness, just in an instant you can go back to that realization that you just had. And it'll get easier to do. I'm imagining for you now, you are now living as a lord or a lady. Which means all your needs and your wants are met without you lifting a finger. In fact, you're doing whatever it is you love right now. And you're being sustained in that without having to lift a finger. And you're telling me in the comments, you're saying, Javier, in just a very short period of time, this is all manifested for me on the outer. I'm doing just what I love to do. I'm doing what I want to do when I want to do it. And I take no thought for any financial aspects because all of my needs are met perfectly. Imagine that for yourself. Most of all, get into the state of that and feel that. This is happening now. Do it. And anyone who's watching this video who has a desire, do it. Do it deeply. Because this is the work, guys. This is the only work you need to do. It's self-talk. And you can say, thank you. Thank you, Father. You can do this longer. You can pause this video. You can do it for more time. And when you're done, you can feel that and you say, thank you, Father. Now you can just come back to the dense, what Plato calls that lower aspect. But remember that realization that you just had, and do not make a mistake. This was a realization that we all just had right now. That you are that space-like, eternal, immutable, ineffable reality of all that is. And there's no inner, and there's no outer. That's interiorism. And that's how I want to help people, guys. I want to help people see this, and I want to help people take charge of their own lives. Now, go about your business. You're going to return to negative emotion. That's fine. It doesn't matter. Because we've gone beyond feeling, beyond emotion. We've gone to that 0 point. You can bitch, you can moan, you can complain, it's no problem. But you will find yourself changing, and you will find the instances of that becoming less, because right now you have in the back of your mind, and soon it's going to be your whole mind, soon your whole subconscious is going to be saturated in the fact of the realization that you just had, that you are now living as a lord or a lady. All of your needs are met. You have no need to take thought for the morrow. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I just ask if you find value in these videos, Please do like the videos, share the videos, subscribe to the channel. And this is Javier with much love and appreciation. I will see you guys very soon. Have a great rest of the week.